Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today I'm going to take you through the process from start to absolute finish when I would gift these cards away. So I make all of my own card bases, I make all of my own envelopes, and I generally kind of go from start to finish if I'm going to do a little gift box of cards like today. Now I'm going to keep this pretty quick and simple as for the actual card making, because I want to make a set of 4 cards. I am going to be using the Layered Blossoms stamp set today, and I'm only going to be using this stamp set. I will actually use a couple of sentiments at the end, but this is going to be full decoration. I have these 2 flowers and that center, plus the outline flower, this leaf, and that little sprig there as well. And those are what I have on the acrylic blocks ready to go. As for stamping, when I'm doing solid stamping with inks, I tend to lean towards these pigment inks. These are the VersaFine Clair inks. I absolutely love these for getting a solid image. I don't have a whole lot of luck with dye inks and getting a really clear solid image. However, these pigment inks are what I can rely on. I actually have a whole review video of these and showing you some different techniques with them, showing you my recommendations for as for colors and things. But just remember, these are also perfect for generation stamping. So you can get a first, second, and third very clearly from one set of inking. So ink it up, stamp it 3 times, and you can get essentially 3 different colors of that same ink. So even when you just have one ink pad, don't think that you can't use variation to your advantage, and that way you can get a whole lot more from it. So this piece of paper, the scrap piece out to the right, is just a scrap piece of paper. It's not meant to be anything, it's just a piece of copy paper, and that is purely so that I can use that to stamp off and get layers of my flowers that I would like to the left. So I'm just mix and matching. Now, one thing I don't love layered stamps where I have to be really, really precise. And so I think I prefer this sort of quick-natured layered stamps. So these ones here are very much not precise. You can kind of layer all of the images together, so like all of the different layers of the flowers. I like that, so it's not only A, B, and C that work together. You can put, A with F, A with C, A with B, A with, whatever. And so I like that, the idea that you can just mix and match everything without it being too overwhelming. So that's what attracted me to this stamp set. It has some really good foliage, which is what I also like, but it's also got the layers that can give me some dimension, and I just like the idea that I can mix and match through all of these. Now, I don't have too many acrylic blocks. I only have, I think I probably have 5 or 6 by now, and so you will see that I use stamps on both sides of my acrylic blocks. That's why some of them look a little bit funny, because I don't have enough for the stamps that I am using, and I'm happy with that. I have a very, very small craft space, and so I have to choose wisely what fills that space. Now, these are the card fronts that I'm working on. I believe I made these 4 by 4 inches, I think, and the card bases are 5 by 5 inches. In case you are wondering, I use the Frenchville brand of paper. Cardstock. It is £110. I buy it from Spotlight here in New Zealand. I know that in Australia you can get the same one. I really, really love this paper. It's great for stamping. It's great for ink blending. It's great for alcohol markers, all the good things. It holds up pretty well to a light amount of water as well. So I used to use the Nina Solar White. However, that was really expensive for me to be able to get in here in New Zealand. So I changed to this one after a recommendation from my good friend Nicole, who is, she helps run our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is called Come Crafting with Natasha. And anyway, she recommended it to me because she had used it over in Australia, and I absolutely love it. So that's the cardstock that I use. And you can see without any effort at all, I'm getting beautiful, crisp, solid stamping from these inks. And that is why I absolutely love them. Now on this one here, I've done all the flowers and the leaves. Now I'm coming back through and I'm just using, this is actually one of the layering parts of the stamps, but I'm just using a singular dot from it. That's all I'm inking. I haven't cut the stamps apart or anything, and I'm just adding some filler in, and I think this just changes the look of it, adds a few more dots, and then we have 4 of a very similar design, but just using really the 2 colors, the Warm Breeze and the Cheerful ink. And then I also have the greens, 2 different types of greens just for layering. Now, as I said, I am going to bring in a couple of sentiment. The one on the left is the Coneflower, I think it's called Giant Coneflower stamp set. And on the right is the Big Birthdays. You've seen these lots before. I'm absolutely loving them. And I'm going to stamp these in the same VersaFine Clear pigment ink. This is the Warm Breeze color, so it's exactly the one that I have used for stamping these flowers. I'm not going to introduce any new colors at this point. And I've just taken some of those sentiments so that I can stamp a different one on each card. And I think that's, in particular, I try and do that when I am gifting these as a set. It wouldn't be so important if these were just going to go randomly in my stash and people could take one. But when I'm doing a set, I like to have different sentiments on each one. Not necessarily for different occasions, but just sometimes one sentiment is more appropriate for someone you have in mind than another, even though they might both be birthday wishes. All right, now, this is going to be a matting layer. Now, I originally didn't think I would do this at all, but I decided it kind of needed it because the card fronts have quite a lot of white in them, and they're going onto a white card base as well. So I'm just going to get some of the Warm Breeze ink. So again, this is the same one that I have used to stamp out the sentiments. This is the same one that I have used for stamping some of the flowers. And I'm just using a little foam brush here, and I'm going to just go around these. Now, these always kind of look a little bit terrible when you're doing them, but the absolute beauty of these is that you only ever see that tiny little bit, and your ink blending does not have to be fancy. It does not have to be smooth. You're only going to see a little bit going around the edge. Sometimes in previous videos, I have masked off the edges and done the inking. In some of the cases, because this was an afterthought, there wasn't enough room to do that. So I thought to be consistent, I would just do an extra layer of cardstock, and that's okay too. So I've got all 4 of these ready to go as well. And then I've already got some double-sided tape. I'm using, at the moment, the Pink and Main. It's you're able to tear it, tearable tape. And so I am really liking this. It is very, very sticky. And so I haven't had any problems with anything coming undone. But it's a new one to me. I've only been using it for a couple of months or so now. So I'm going to put all of these layers down flat. I'm going to keep these cards relatively one layer. I mean, essentially the inking and things is one layer, just because I know that I will be giving these away. They're going into a gift box, which we're all going to make in this video, and I just want to keep them sort of nice and smooth, because I don't know whether the person who receives this is going to be sending these through the mail or giving them by hand. So just to keep things nice and easy and not too bulky for the box, I keep everything relatively flat. So we have 4 cards, 4 gorgeous cards ready to go. Now at this point I had switched to filming some envelopes, and I create all my own envelopes, especially when I make custom card bases like this. Now I have not got that footage because I didn't press record, so you'll just have to imagine the envelopes. I will link the envelope video where I teach you 3 different very basic no measure envelopes down below. I think you should really take a look at that one if you haven't seen it. It will change your mind on whether you have to buy envelopes or not, especially when, as I said, we make funny sized cards that aren't necessarily specific. We just, go in our happy place and make them whatever size we want to. And so that video is great. It doesn't matter whether they're slimline, whether they're square, whether they're circle. And I will show you 3 different types that are basically no measure at all, and they look stunning. And best of all, I tend to try and use up some cardstock that I don't particularly love, especially if it's 12 by 12 cardstock. That can be the absolute best paper or cardstock to use for envelope making. Now, I'm sorry, I'm moving on to the box here in the video, and this is so simple, very, very simple. All I do is, if your cards, for example, mine were 5 by 5 inches, I tend to add half an inch just so you've got some wiggle room in the box. And then you decide how, so that means that I'm going to make my square base 5.5 by 5.5. Then you decide how tall you want the sides to be. And I decided 1/2 inch was fine. So for me, that's going to be 1 inch when you include both sides. So I'm going to make this box 6.5 by 6.5 inches. I score at 1/2 inch going all the way around the box. Cut those little tabs, and then that way I can make a little a box. Now, as for making one smaller than the other, often I will just come in like 1/16 of an inch when I am scoring, and I find that that is enough to make one of the boxes smaller than the other so that they fit nicely inside the other one. You could also, if you wanted to, add a little hinge to this so that it was a box that sort of opened up, but I was happy with this just going one inside the other. So if I have my cards all ready to go, I've made my box, I've made my envelopes, which are off to the side and I completely leave out, but that's okay. I pop my cards in. You can see there's a little bit of wiggle room, but they fit nicely. And then I've got my box ready to go. And then this is how I'm going to package it up. I'm actually going to pop a wee note in there just for this person, but I will do that later on. Then I will just tie a gorgeous little ribbon around the box and do a little bow and make the edges nice and beautiful, make the little edges to the ribbon, and then we are pretty much good to go. This is a beautiful little gift set that I can either include in a gift basket or I can give away to someone in mind. Just a really nice little thoughtful gift. And sometimes I really enjoy seeing the process through from start to finish. For example, making the card bases, making the cards, making the box, and it really does feel like a complete gift. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it useful. I hope that you give some of the layering stamp sets a go. Have a look at them, choose them carefully. Some people are just absolute pros at making those beautiful layered stamps, but this layering stamp set worked very well for me. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks.